I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Our visitor tonight is Charlie Stage. He is the president of the Clayton Dive Club. If you'd come forward, Charlie.
Are you on? Yeah.
We're on.
Hello. Okay. Just here to present the village with an opportunity. The opportunity, well, we haven't done it in a couple years, but I can speak from 4 different times of experience where we're offering to clean your waterfront in a section of the waterfront. And that's the underwater section. And the proposal that we are giving you is that we would like to clean this year from the village, the monument in the village, to the end of Riverside, well, the bend in Riverside Drive by the timeshare, or yeah, whatever they call those buildings. Each year we pick a section. We communicate with the village and ask them if we can have permission to do it, but also ask them if we can have your help, which would be Terry's portion of that, if he's willing to offer trucks, because in the past we've hauled up some pretty good stuff from the bottom of the river. We've also managed to recover a ring for someone, found some keys for somebody, found a wallet one year. So we do a little bit of public service at the same time. So what it entails, we had originally scheduled it for the 7th of June. We moved it to the 12th of June. The New York State Divers Association will be having a meeting and a weekend of diving up here in Clayton that weekend. So we hope to get some more divers. So we have no idea how many divers will be showing up at this time. We do know that with our club alone, we will possibly have, well, we will have 6, possibly up to 10 divers. And there will be a shore crew that will work with them. So we're thinking in the neighborhood of 16. But if New York State Divers Association is willing to help, then we have no estimate. The reason I give you that number, though, is in the past, and I've been involved in 4 or 5, I think, cleanups on the river, and we've had great help from the village, who provided us lunches, drinks, and the trucks, and the equipment to haul the stuff away. So that's what I'm here to ask tonight, if that's something you're still interested in. That's my proposal from the club.
What does the board think?
Sounds like a good proposal. Yeah, that's great.
Okay. What time would you be starting?
We're here to help.
It's a Thursday.
It's a Thursday.
Yeah, that's great.
During the day.
So
during the day, what time like are you looking at? 10-ish, 11-ish, 9-ish?
We'll probably be starting our operations because we'll need our boat. We are providing our own boat at this time. If the fireboat's available, that's something I can take up with the fire department. But we will have something for our boat will be standing by for entry and egress. So I would say we're going to get together about 8 o'clock. We should be at the waterfront easily by 9:30.
Okay, where would you like us staged? Down at Rotary Park with the trucks and the equipment?
That is why I would like to ask you, what, I know it's going to be tough getting down and around the corner there at the monument. And we will be, depending on the objects we find, we will be hauling stuff all along the dock up to the condos. So I don't know where the most convenient place for a truck would be.
Either behind the monument but we can't get right next to the shore. The best spot would probably be down at Rotary Park or Frank Park, but I know you're not going that far down, you're going to the condos.
Would we need to shut down the new docks for while they're in the water?
We had that problem at the Finger Docks, right, across from the Opera House. We don't believe we're gonna have that problem at the area we're going to be diving in. Because we will have a boat with a flag. We'll also have dive flags on the divers. It may be such that as we get to the angled docks that's just in front of the monument, if we have difficulty, we'll probably have some of our own members try to steer boats away from the dock.
For that time of the year, June 12th on a Thursday, it should not be that busy. That time
I
of the year.
wouldn't think so.
Yeah. Okay. So
Thank
put the truck down in back of the monument?
Either that or at Rotary, whatever, we'll work that out as the time approaches, we can get together and, I mean, we got the tool cap, which can get closer, we can get down there, so if you gotta throw some stuff in the bucket of the tool cap, we can just bug lug it over to the loader or whatever we got down there.
Very good.
We'll figure it out.
So how do we handle lunch, right? We provide lunch? Is that what you said?
You have in the past. I mean,
Okay.
we're not asking for it, it's
Yeah.
just an overview.
But how do we deal with that?
We'll figure that out.
Okay, great.
Thank you very
Okay.
much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Mike? Mike. Jeff? I don't know where Mike came from.
Probably be the next one.
Yeah.
Mr. Mosier, welcome
Yeah,
to
I
the
look like a
podium.
mic. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. I apologize, I do have this last memorandum that just came up late last week. So this is kind of a time-sensitive request for proposal. We could get to that at the end. So the month of March, we did have a notice of noncompliance issued to the New York State DEC for a rainstorm we experienced on the 16th of March. We had 1.24 inches of rain came down, coincided with the winter thaw we had. Thought we had our backup filters, overflow line available and ready for the storm. Unfortunately, that overflow line backed up. Much to our surprise, we checked that line for any obstructions. We didn't notice any obstructions. We brought the engineers back down to kind of review the drawings and go through everything that happened that day, and we determined that that 18-inch overflow line must have become airbound. So we have some engineered controls. We talked with Door Fabrications. We have corrective action underway. We're going to be fabricating some baffles and plates on the effluent weirs of the filter basins inside the new advanced treatment building in an effort to try to prevent water from backflowing down that 18-inch line and causing an airlock. What we're seeing happen is, although our plant is able to equip it when we get these pump stations that come on at 3,000 gallons a minute like Riverside, it simply overwhelms our bar screen, and that overflow channel that the engineers had designed was designed to take all that, unfortunately. There was some discrepancy in the baffling system of the filter basin, and so we think we've got a corrective action plan to get that remedied.
So why are you talking about an airlock? Was there water in the front of it causing that?
Correct, yeah. So it's not much of a gradient from the top of the diversion box down to the filter building where that water ends up. And what happens in the filter building, there's these two enormous filter basins in there, and the water level inside those basins rises and falls. And as it rises, it pushes water back over that overflow line when that overflow line isn't engaged and traps air. So then when the water jumps the diversion box from the pump stations being kicked on, it kind of sandwiches air in there. There probably should have been a vent installed somewhere along that line. They'd have to punch a hole in the ground. That's our option B. We were looking for a more economical solution to try to prevent this backflow of water to create that airlock. So we're going to be putting on these stainless steel plates that Door Fabrication had fabricated for us in intent that that'll work. You see, when they delivered these filter basins from Aquastorm, There was a slot in the influent weir basin that the engineers were unaware that that was by design installed. And so essentially inside the influent basin, it maintains the same water level of the main basin. And so if we're able to isolate that influent basin from the main basin, we should be able to prevent that airlock from backflowing down the line, is the intent. I'd be more than happy to kind of walk that through with anyone who's willing to come down and pay us a visit. So you'll notice that the overtime hours were kind of high for the month of March. We did have a call in earlier in March too in regards to a rain event. However, we didn't have any non-compliance issues with that event. So I did have a few action items on the agenda tonight. The first is I would like to encourage a motion to approve general contractor Gene Aubertine onto our list of approved contractors for the village. Gene has a very reputable track record. He does his diligence. I understand he's an easy guy to work with. And my impression, I don't know why he wasn't on there to begin with, but he's
I'll make a motion.
sent in the application.
Yeah. He's got a
Do you have
good
a second?
reputation.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
We don't have anybody that could do that work, or you just wanted an option to pick?
We do. We have several contractors on this list. So this is Petra Services that is doing the engineering and architecture for this project, and they hired Gene Aubertine as their general contractor. So it's just kind of preference on whoever, that's the architect or engineer on who they choose. We have PJ, PLM, we have several others too that Terry and I have added to the list over the years. Gene's been around for a long time. He does good work, and so basically, he's going to be working in cahoots with Terry and I. When we bring the water to the street and make the connection, we'll be working with him. So,
And this is for, am I correct, this is for the new apartments over on James Street?
correct, which
That
brings
Jeff
us to our
Senecal
next.
putting in.
I'd like to also encourage a motion to approve the development occurring at 532 James Street. So they're adding additional apartment units onto an existing apartment
So they're
complex.
going 4 to 6, is that?
Correct.
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Okay, great. Last week, we had also submitted to Joanne the asset management plan. I know there's a lot of reading material there, so I'm not going to press that now, but I do understand that it does warrant not necessarily an approval. This is a recommendation based on your current financial status and equipment items that have met their shelf life. So next board meeting next month, there is a couple highlights within that asset management plan that I'd kind of like to kind of embark upon a decision. One being the bricks on the building, which Mr. McDowell's paid a visit today and took a look at some of the deterioration that's occurring on the exterior of the newer addition on the sewer plant. So we did receive a quote from Palmer Masonry. They found a matching brick material to fix the broken bricks and around the windows and around the doors and around the roof line. Also on that asset management plan was the East Union VFDs. Now these VFDs, variable frequency drives, are located at the East Union pump station. They are now past their shelf life. We had planned on replacing those this current fiscal year. However, we ran into some repair issues, if you remember, at the River Shore pump station and the South Shore pump station. So we decided to use those funds to install new impellers and wear plates on some of those aging pumps. So I'll broach that again next board meeting if you guys want to make a movement to go forth with that. And also, I'd like to recommend putting in a new boiler at the low lift pump house. This is for the tenant's residence. There's an old fuel oil antiquated boiler there now. I undershot my budget for the utilities for that facility this year, being as cold of a winter as it was, and we pay quite a lot of money every month to keep that place heated. So if we're going to be renting out this facility in the future, it might be worth upgrading the HVAC system in there at this point.
Are we gonna be renting that out? We're not,
at
right?
some point,
Okay.
maybe, but we haven't, we have further discussion on that.
Would it make sense to look into another system, is it an oil?
Yeah, so we have a buried propane tank there now, which runs the auto start generator
Okay.
that's in the building to run the pumps in case of a power outage. So I would encourage utilizing that same gas source as a fuel source for the
Okay.
new heating system.
What about looking into alternative, like, some alternative, green
Like-
type?
Like heat pumps or,
Yeah,
micro splits like we've
Yeah.
done in here, absolutely. Yeah, we would encourage looking at that
Okay,
avenue
good.
as well.
Thank you.
And lastly, the memo I just sat in front of you, we had authority personnel put out a request for quote for, this is for our generator service providers. Kinsley has been our generator service provider for a good many years. They do stellar work. I've had great experiences with them. We called them at 2 o'clock in the morning. They've shown up with batteries in hand. They have pictures of all of our generator cabinets. They are excellent reference to troubleshoot with on the phone. I understand Cummins doesn't offer that same service. I know there's a little bit of a price difference between the two of them. However, with the service that we are granted with Kinsley, I would recommend keeping Kinsley as our service provider. Not to mention, they have all the reports, the status reports of every single generator that they've worked on for the last 6-7 years, which is pretty valuable information, I feel. I know they don't want to lose us as a customer. This was kind of a package bid that the authority sent out. It went out to Carthage, West Carthage, Ogdensburg, Malone, Casterland, so it's all bundled together. I have a more particular breakdown if you guys request. But as you can see, they weren't too far off from Cummins. And then, of course, Penn Power had no response.
Yeah, so your position is that they've been doing a great job, the service is there, even though it's a little bit higher, it's worth just the consistency and not having the hassle of worrying about it. And they don't even, and Cummings doesn't even offer all of this service, is that correct?
They're not as responsive. It's
Yeah.
kind of, you got to work through the switchboard. It's really hard to get a hold of someone. With Kinsley, actually, myself and half our operators have their staff on our quick dial on our
Right.
cell phones, and they immediately respond.
Do we need a motion for this?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
Well, is there any other discussion?
I don't know, is this,
I have that when,
really don't like to do stuff off the cuff like this.
Well, that's okay, then we can do it next,
Yep,
We can do
by
it
all
next
means, we
meeting.
could review
Sure.
it in 2 weeks.
yeah.
Yeah, that would be.
I just have 30
Prefer
days to
to be-
respond to them, so I won't make my
Yeah, well,
last board meeting next month, so.
yeah, well, we will put it on for next month,
Great.
the next meeting.
Okay.
We won't wait till the end of the month.
Great, okay.
That'll give you more time to beat them up for $2,260.
Yeah, and, we can make a couple phone calls and see if they're willing to renegotiate that.
Well, that never hurts. Going back to the event on March 16th, so was it a design flaw, or what was the, and I know you explained why it happened, but because you were
Yeah.
saying the engineers didn't know, blah, 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 and is there any recourse to go back to the engineers and say, hey, look, we paid you to design this, and
Yeah, I guess that's to be determined. I understand a lot of this thing that was warranted and test run is past its warranty, past its testing phase. It was around $530 for a door to fabricate those baffles for us. We're going to be installing them ourselves.
so, I mean, in your opinion, do you think it was a design, because it sounded like.
I think it was an oversight.
Okay.
When they delivered these basins, there's literally a 2-inch slot on the bottom, which I don't think, unless you were on your hands and knees crawling with a flashlight, no one would have noticed that.
Yeah,
So
okay,
I look at it as an oversight.
yeah, just an oversight. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions or comments for Jeff? All right, very good, thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Terry Jones?
Well, good evening, everybody. looks like spring may be here, I don't know. I wanted to add to the report that we think winter may be over, so we did, tomorrow actually we'll start removing sanders and plow equipment from one of the plow trucks. Just in case, we'll leave one in operation, just in case Mother Nature wants to play games with us like she has been lately. We also began mulching today. The parks at Centennial, I believe, is done today, and we'll continue on this week doing that and getting caught up on that kind of stuff. I did want to also bring up on the agenda, I see the rescind resolution for the standardization of John Deere's, which apparently in 2008, the board decided to go to John Deere engines. We've found that back in those days, there were actually John Deere engines on the mowers. They're really not anymore, you know. The Kawasaki engines. John Deere is outpricing themselves in our opinion, as you can see by our loader quotes that we had for the budget this year. So I think in hindsight and going forward, I think it probably behooves the village to rescind that. That gives us a little more of an option to play with as far as loaders, mowers, and that kind of stuff. That's what that's all about.
Does anyone have any questions about that?
That makes sense.
So could we have a motion
I'll make the motion.
and a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Also, of course, it's May will be starting soon. The docks, floaters, looking at probably next week. I spoke with Dory, still trying to dial in for the small floaters, bringing them around and getting them activated. The inspection for the floating docks behind the monument is scheduled, I believe he said the first or second week of May, and I'll dial that in and I will send an email to you all and let you know. There's some cosmetic work that needs to be done on the wave attenuator, the outside dock, have you. They are also bringing a section of, I call it the curbing, the receiver that the gangway lands on was a little bit too short, and they knew that from design when they first built it, and as we all know, the ramp fell in, so they'll be replacing that when they come. But as we get closer, and I'll make some phone calls to Jake this week, and we'll dial in hopefully a date with him and also Steve Dorr with
Who's they?
moving the floaters.
Terry, who's they? When they come, who's they? Is it Jake?
Jake, yes, sorry. Yeah, because we'd agreed for them to inspect it back in the fall, but weather came and we couldn't get a diver, they couldn't get a diver.
Are they reinstalling the bridges at that?
Yes,
Yeah.
yep, that's the plan anyway. Yep. Also, Door Marine will be helping us or assisting us in revamping the diver dock. We're hoping to install that. We have to move some weights and a couple of the receiver hinges on the dock because the town built the new river walk, and it's kind of in, we're gonna have to bring everything out basically. So just wanted to keep the board up to speed on that. I think, other than that, I don't have anything else. Does anyone have any questions for me? Yes.
Have you heard anything from any of the contractors with
I've heard
that?
from one contractor so far.
Okay, all right. And I just want to clarify that because there's, I think how it was, the residents will be paying for the cement and the labor. They're not paying just for the cement. And I think that needs to be reiterated in the newspaper. A few people have been confused about it, saying, oh, the village is replacing sidewalks. And I said, no, not really. Yes, but no.
It does save a little, the resident,
But I
a little
think
money by us removing
Yes.
the old sidewalks.
But I think if that gets put in, that makes it more
Right.
confusing. But that they have to pay for the contract, the concrete and the labor.
The concrete and the labor is correct.
Yes.
Except for the demolition of the sidewalk?
We will
Right,
be
but if you
removing the
put all that
sidewalks.
into
Yeah.
a newspaper article, you're gonna confuse people
Right.
even more.
Got
So
it.
that will go into any letters
Yeah.
and
got it.
conversations, yes, Any action on the grease at the Riverwalk, at the end of the Riverwalk, next to Frank Park?
Oh, we're talking at the other restaurant?
Yes.
I haven't, I talked to Peter last fall, of course, when there
Yes.
was that incident, but I have not had any.
And he's been sent a letter saying he would do it
Okay.
in the spring, but we're now May 1.
Okay.
So my ask of you is, if it doesn't get done in the next, would you get it done by Memorial Day?
We want that cleaned up is where
Yes.
you're going, right?
Yes, and
Correct.
then we will just
Yeah.
build that into it.
We'll get on that as quick as we can, because it is an eyesore.
All right.
I don't know what we can use, but we'll find something.
I understand, I do. Another comment I have, which would involve trustee Riddock, is the library. I've noticed over the last couple of years when they go to do projects, always seems to be kind of something arises. And I think it would be very good if you, as you're being a contractor, you being their liaison, checks a lot of these things out beforehand, because it may save them a lot of money also. And it's not that it was a big problem, but the DPW went to start working on their new ramp, and there was an issue with what was ordered.
Correct, yeah. A lot of the stuff, the guy that ordered it from White's no longer works at White's. So there was a communication problem. I think he couldn't get certain things in stock, and for whatever reason, when he left, I don't think that got
Probably
transferred
when
to
he
somebody
left.
else.
Yes.
So Jake went down, and I think we've got it under control. I think
Right.
we're just waiting for a couple of other things. That's why we didn't start disassembling it, because we didn't want to get it all tore apart and then it sit there for a month. So we just kind of held off. Hopefully this week that stuff should be in, and then I talked to Debbie about it on Friday, and I said, as soon as we get the materials, we'll get over there, we'll start taking it apart.
But I think between your knowledge and Jake's knowledge,
It was brought up that I don't know how.
that's all.
I don't know how hard set everyone is on the cable instead of railing, but it's really expensive. That cable is real expensive.
I don't know if they know that. I think they just like that.
Yep, it looks nice, but it's very, very
Well,
expensive.
But it it looks nice in certain situations too. I don't know if the library building warrants, stainless steel
Right.
cable. I mean, if you're building a new house that's all very modern, it lends itself to that better, I think.
And I haven't looked into it.
And it also is for view, right? So if you're sitting on your
Right.
deck
Yeah.
and you don't want to see pickets and balusters
Right.
and things, let's put stainless steel cable up. But on a essentially a handicap ramp, it's not necessary. So if it's that much of
So
a
has that
fuss-
already been ordered and ready to go?
I
or-
think we were holding off until
Why don't I
meeting.
talk to Deb about that too?
Okay, because I think it was like, you can save about $1,000, maybe $2,000.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
posts that we have to order are like $400 a piece compared to $100 for the ones that were ordered. So ultimately, it's $2,000 more just in the posts themselves, plus the cable, where you put some slats in there, like what's there now, and probably gonna save a lot of money. I know it's a grant, and I mean, we'll do
Well,
whatever,
But I think they
whatever the
still have to
library
pay a
wants
portion
us
of
to
the
do.
grant. Yes, I don't think it's a,
I don't think they have enough money to cover the whole thing.
They wouldn't, according to Debbie, if we ordered the materials that didn't come in. It would have been well
so
over.
you'll talk to
I
her
will,
about
yeah,
it.
I'll
Thank
talk
you.
to Deb on her about it.
Yes. Because I just feel like there needs to be more communication.
And Terry was a big help also about, it must be 3 weeks ago now. He met me down at the library. We
Right.
talked about
Good.
the organization, or at least the footprint of the bathroom.
Right.
That
Yeah.
That was really helpful. Thank you.
Yep, no, I think that'll work.
So I'll touch base with
All
Deb.
right, thank you
Okay.
very much for that. That's all I have.
So I had a question for you. Were you able to fix that light pole in the park?
Oh yes, we just taped it for now, Mike. We can't, probably in the future, maybe maybe a year or two down the road, budget time, might be a good idea to change those lights out. You can't buy the covers any longer. They're Sternberg lighting. They were made in the 80s, early 80s, and it's hard to find parts for them.
Are we
I
talking
know
about
they've
these
got
lights?
the beautiful look and everybody likes that style, but he can probably fabricate something, and we talked about that this morning, so Mike's gonna look into, see what he can fabricate to look halfway decent on there instead of some tape. But it's taped for now to keep everybody out of there.
Basically, there was.
I don't know what you're talking about.
One of the light
Well,
poles
I
in the
know,
park.
Access panel.
The access panel was
Right at the
on,
crossroads of the park, the crossroads.
and so during the Easter thing there, you can see where anybody could reach your hands in there and grab the wires. And so it's a kind of a safety deal.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, and so I asked Terry.
Why'd they hide the
He
exit?
said something to me about it, brought me over and showed me, and I thought I'd give it to him.
Yeah, thank you.
The other thing was, is that we talked at that one time, and I was wanted to just say it so the board might think about it, is that they're talking about vandalizing things at the park, and also the thought of maybe having cameras in the park. And one of the things with the cameras would be not just vandals, but if something happened, like a child was abducted or something, God forbid that ever happened, but you would have some kind of a camera that could help our police force. So, not something right now, but.
I don't think we
something to
could
think
do it
about.
this year, but we
Right.
could do it for next year's budget.
Right, because I think Terry was saying we don't have a Wi-Fi.
Yeah, we need some sort of Wi-Fi connection or something, obviously.
I think it.
But I think we could, I think that's obtainable.
I'm certainly not opposed to that. We could do it in the 25, 26 budget, or 20, however that one.
26, 27.
Yeah, yes, next year.
Okay.
But I think that's a good thing to think about.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you all.
Yeah, Terry's,
And just take those snow plows off.
Okay.
wait till after Saturday.
Just take
And
them.
we're all set
Yeah.
for Saturday.
Yep.
The
Well,
tree,
Friday, yeah, you're gonna dig the hole on Friday.
yeah, we'll have the
Tree on
hole
Friday.
will be
Yep,
pre-dug, the tree will be there.
Yep, I
He's
saw your
supposed to
marking
deliver
and
the tree
everything.
Friday.
Yeah,
Red
great.
oak, gonna
Thank
be
you.
planted in the park, so,
Awesome.
great.
Yeah, it's gonna be great. And it's gonna be sunny and beautiful.
It is gonna be sunny,
A fabulous
40% chance of rain and 50 degrees.
That's too early to worry about
day.
that.
It's gonna change.
Have a good evening, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Terry.
Thank you.
Hi, Dave.
Okay. All right, good evening, everybody. Hopping times in the zoning department this month. Report got out on Thursday, kind of standard, run-of-the-mill, permit requests, signs, pool that NAP had requested over on River Shore under variance 08. He got the permit for that. Johnson is proposing a fence, Mastic's a fence. This was an interesting one. She wanted an 8-foot fence because she didn't like her neighbor. And I tried to explain the process. You get a permit, your permit gets denied, you get to go to variance. They're not gonna let you have an 8-foot fence. Well, I want an 8-foot fence. So I went to zoning, ZBA, and I asked them, what do you think of an 8-foot fence? They said, no way, no how. So I let her know that. So she didn't have to pay $150.
So she didn't do it at all?
She didn't do it at all. She didn't want to pay $50 for the permit to put a regular fence in. So, Lionsfield finally got their permit from the site plan review approval. Variance, hopping times here. We had the garage variance at 410 Merritt that got denied, being substantially too big, greater than 50% setbacks. And we had our signs, which were a very popular issue. And there was some discussions, obviously, with the sign. The first one, actually, with reverse order, but Zero Park got tabled. Again, both of these applications were from the town. Both of them, in my mind, were incomplete, or represented something I didn't read to be representative. Zero Park sign, I thought was a replacement for the existing sign, which they said, when they presented it, they said no. It's going to be a sign down towards the tennis courts. It's going to display Town of Clayton events, not Zero Park Arena events, or a combination of the two. So that got tabled, because there were some discussions of what it's going to look like, where it's going to be, how big it's going to be. So that that'll be back next month.
Can I make a comment?
Yes, you may.
That situation there, I think that the way that we should probably be looking at that is that if they don't, and especially if you review it and you don't believe it's complete, you should go ahead and just say, okay, then the only way that we're going to move this to, let's say, the ZBA would be under a pre-application and not for approval.
Okay. They were complete.
Well, you just said that to you they weren't complete.
They were complete in every sense of the word, except for the representation of what they were installing. Okay? And it's similar to the problem that I have when I issue a zoning permit. And I go and I look at what the people are building, and they are building whatever they want, even though the permit says you can only build A. They're building B. They came in with a sign. I want a sign for Zero Park to replace the existing sign. Come to presentation, it's not a replacement. How am I to know that? By the verbiage that was given to me, by the verbiage that was given me on the next one, which was the Opera House. I want a sign for the Opera House. What is your thought? Marquee, like you said. Okay? Everybody thought that. 50 people showed up thinking that. When they got up to do the presentation, it was a Town of Clayton only sign for activities that the town is undertaking. The sign was going to be underneath the walkway, canopy. None of that was identified in the permit. The permit said we're requesting a sign for the Opera House. Okay? That got withdrawn, thankfully.
Were there any pictures or anything
Nope.
like that with the
Right,
application?
that's where it's incomplete though. How can you expect somebody to make a decision on a sign when you don't even have a visual
They
presentation?
gave dimensions.
Not even saying where it's going to be located.
They
You know,
gave-
that's the kind of thing that you should be just stopped and said, look, you need to provide this much more information before you can apply the application to the ZBA. Because now, if you go to the ZBA and you start making those decisions or determinations there, that's not giving the public the opportunity to make a decision whether they approve something like that or not. You know, it kind of makes it very much chaos.
The way, Ron, the way it was written, the way it was described, and the dimensions that were given and were correct, or a satisfactory representation of what they were. Why they didn't have a picture, why they didn't have an exact location, is these are bid items that have to go out for bid. They weren't going to go out to bid without having an approved permit.
Yeah, I guess my point is that I don't see how somebody could approve something when they don't even know what the visual look would be, especially on a sign type thing. So that's where I'm saying I think that what should have happened there was that I should have been, please provide us with a visual representation of what this sign is going to look like, especially since they're trying to put it on a historic building.
You're saying
That's
like,
my comment.
yeah, similar to, when you present a site plan, you have a
Yes.
site plan, you say, this is exactly where the thing's gonna be, I'm gonna build a subdivision, it's gonna be here. On a survey or something that, all the dimensions, so we know exactly where it's gonna be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
unless trying to design it there, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah,
I mean, trying to explain to the public right then,
yeah,
you know,
right.
or changing things, you know.
I mean, what are your feelings on that? Like, if there was a requirement for a visual representation of where it's going to be on a building, for example? I mean, I know it's not there now, but, you know, maybe that's something we could.
Well, I think it
Well, I
actually
think
is.
the bulk of the majority of the people come in with that in their plans. You know,
Right, but we're
we
talking
have an
about-
idea with the TI Art Center.
Rightly or wrongly, I took the application from a town representative to be just and true.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
And I did not question it. The only thing I indicated, digital signs are prohibited. And
Yeah.
they,
You would expect
they,
them to know the correct.
they wrote that, they wrote the permit, they denied their own permit, and then they wrote the request for variance. So I got them all in a package. So,
I think that if you have any questions with a submittal, I think that that's when you should just go ahead and say, look, please provide.
I agree, and we've had this conversation before, and it is
Trying
a
to
work
get
in
this-
progress because it is light years ahead of what it was. Okay, so.
And that's the part what I'm trying to do, is continually improve the
And we are.
process. You know, and the process is the more that the public knows about the project, and the better that they can make a decision without coming in and start being against it when maybe they wouldn't be, or
And-
vice versa.
Okay. That begs to differ to what we actually produce that the public sees. We put out a notification of a hearing, of a meeting. It says it's for sign. They don't see anything else. They don't see the application. They call me up and say, I want to see the application. I said, I am not allowed to give you that information. You can FOIA it if you want. Okay? That could be proprietary information on those documents that I don't know about or aren't party to. So there's a fundamental problem with how we do it. We don't provide the total application for review unless you come into this office and sit down and review it in my office.
Yeah, but even if they did come in, they wouldn't see a visual representation of that sign. Or like such on the garage issue here, and I'll stop after this. They're putting a large garage into a property that's very small, and yet they didn't have where they were going to drain any of their water from the project. And I
But
think
doesn't that then go to planning?
That's when planning board picks
I
it up.
thought my understanding, which is limited for ZBA, is this is all about footage, private
Okay.
land. Then she would have to go to, if she was okay,
well, depending on if
she
it would
would then
have
have
permitted.
to go to planning, and it would be their responsibility about water, et cetera, or drainage.
Right, in some cases,
Same,
though,
it's same thing for the signs. Garage, a sign. You're allowed by zoning to put this in. What you actually put in, you have to then go to the planning board and say, I'm putting this in. I'm putting in this structure, this high, with drainage, parking, that's all that comes in is in the planning board review and discussion. So we gotta separate the two. Is it allowable by zoning? It fits in this box. It's within this width, dimension of a property line. It's within the height restrictions, whatever that is. Then it goes to the next phase of work, of permitting.
as long as it does go to planning, and it isn't, if it passes that, it is automatically okay, you know what I mean?
We don't know, you can't. If you have a zoning
Well, then they
permit to
don't
build
get their-
something, you have to go to the planning and get a building permit.
They wouldn't get their building permit, right?
Well, that's what I'm saying, as long as it goes to planning, because under just a regular building permit, they would just, if everything was okay, you know what I mean? If there was nothing for the planning to,
Right, but they still have to go to planning.
okay.
That I don't think it just stops at zoning.
I can see where he's talking about there, and I guess there, it seems to me that the zoning ZBA would be thinking of conditions like that for reasoning for refusal or approval.
But
You know,
you're
I-
only going to refuse if it doesn't meet the qualifications for that area. You're not going to refuse due to water and gutters and parking.
Well, that would
Then
be,
that goes
that
to
would be
planning.
a portion where is it detrimental to the character and to the
Well.
neighbors? if you're gonna flood somebody's neighbors, I think the ZBA would like to say, well, no, I think this would be a bad idea because
But
it's affecting your neighbors.
I think, and I thought I heard that it's also a good idea for the planning board to do their seeker, not just the ZBA do a seeker.
I think they do. If it comes to planning
That they
board,
both
always
do.
a secret.
So then, then the planning board, that would all be taken care of through their seeker process.
I guess what I'm saying is that, you know, I think certain information would be good for the ZBA to know whether or not, if it's a detriment to the neighbors. And drainage is definitely a detriment. I guess I'm not going to.
Well, that goes into the next discussions. All right, so we've got the site plan review of Lions Field, which got approved. So on the 3rd. Supplemental use permit by Jeff for his apartments. That went to the planning board. That got questioned about parking spaces. That got questioned about site drainage. That got approved with conditions, okay? They had to come back then to me and say, I've met the conditions of parking, I've met the conditions of drainage, and here's how I did it, it's on the drawing. That got resent out to all board members, they reviewed it to make sure it met the intent of what the planning board had said, and then they were permitted. So there are checks and balances. So we can't solve everything at zoning. There's got to be a combination.
I'm just trying to give them the information that they can make a determination as to whether or not it's going to be detrimental to the neighbors. And these kind of things are going to keep coming up, and that's why I would like to make sure that we're doing it appropriately.
But it sounded like in this incident, that actually happened, right? I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Which is good. And yeah, your addition to this municipality has been phenomenal.
I'm glad you said that, because at that meeting, they said, if you agree to all of this, then go ahead and give them the permit. And I'm glad you said that. You sent it back to the board and said, this is what I was told. Are you
Yes.
still on board with me giving it? I appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And I do agree that we are moving forward in a good place.
Oh, thank you. I think so too.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, absolutely.
We are so much better, thank you.
Yes.
Okay, zoning board of appeals, we talked about the garage, Caddick, Pepe and his subdivision on River Shore has been on hold. Hill, who wanted a subdivision on Bartlett Point, withdrew after discussions. And I think he felt the heat, that was not gonna go. Talked about the signs, everywhere there's signs, right? Got some inquiries, Hill, again, withdrawn for that subdivision. French Bay Group wants to put a potential stone wall on the property on Alexandria Street that he owns. So maybe that's more of a Jeffrey Kellogg issue, I'm not quite sure ownership, but he asked me what it would take to get it. He hasn't done anything since. French Creek, okay, French Creek is looking to expand their existing park, RV park, trailer park, whatever you want to define it as, to that property across the street from Wall Street, from their existing park that's kind of behind Kinney's. All right, it's kind of an open issue. They're looking at asking me what they need to do. I said, you need to do a complete new application, complete new plans, documents, things like that. I did get the permits from the New York State Department of Health. Their prior permits, it does say RVs are allowed under that permit. So I think they're looking at doing that, but they've got site plans, the checklists, construction, what they're gonna do, reapply for the Department of Health permits, and then another submittal to the Jefferson County Board for their ideas. Tilt came in with a sign request, another sign, but they never came back. So I think they're still kind of pending it. Notifications, that's really just kind of documenting that I did the notifications, I did the mailings, and I did the advertising for the requirements. Had a meeting on 109 River Shore with Mark Reef, I may have that spelled wrong. He has been utilizing the docks on that property for decades. The owner is looking to sell, but doesn't want to sell now because she wants more money, higher prices, but she's willing to divide the property up and sell him part with the promise to sell the rest of the part. I was like, show me some drawings so I have an idea what you're dealing with. He had come to me before saying he wanted a 30-foot piece of land. What could we do? And I said, you can't do anything because you need 80. So we'll see what happens there. Property visits, I do my routine, the art center, the antique boat museum, the Eagle shop. I go by there every day. Administrative actions we've taken. We did get the certificate of insurance for Black Horse Group for the TI Art Center construction to add the village of Clayton to the rider, since they are actually working on village of Clayton property. Damage has occurred. We have a means to get back at them. I've got this thing with Zoller about an easement. Nancy and I and the attorney are going to meet to discuss that. This is kind of out there, but he keeps calling and asking about it, and we have to respond. That is the popcorn shop. There is supposed to be an easement for a dockage area, but that's Riverwalk.
The old pop, or
Yeah.
yeah.
So,
Right.
so that's to be determined type of thing. LWRP, the proposals went out, but the proposals have been received. I'm a designated reviewer. And then I have the pending new topic for discussion that I need board input. All right, and I did attach some copies of an example letter and a copy of an example set of pictures. And it just so happens to be the one I look at every day of my office. And we are getting more and more phone calls about what do I do about XYZ's abandoned boat, RV, snowmobile, motorcycle, snow blower, lawnmower. And the only thing we have so far that I can find in the books is a 3-month window where you can have an unregistered vehicle in your driveway. Although after that, it's got to go into a garage. That is not occurring. All right. So we're getting, what do I do? Things like that. My response so far has been, you need to send me an email. Okay, I can't just do a phone call type thing. I have to have a documented complaint. All right. Then we need to take it to the next step. So I attached kind of an example letter with attached pictures saying, you know, here's the code, here's the citations. We need you to address whatever it is, be it a boat, a vehicle, an RV. And I really am looking for the board's support in developing a procedure of how we want to do this. I don't think that the village should be out policing everything and everybody. Just because we don't like something doesn't mean that there could be circumstances. I do like the idea that if we have a complaint, we have an avenue to addressing that complaint. It shows that we're proactive. It shows that we are reactive to the village. And what the end is, I'm not quite sure yet. That's the other thing we need to discuss. I talked to Code Enforcement of Alexandria Bay, and he says they have a deal with Will's Wrecker that Will's Wrecker will come in, pull the dead car away, and pay the owner for scrap. So it's something we could look at also. So not so much enforcement.
Solution.
How about beautification of the neighborhood? Let's keep the village concept, ideology that we want to have, and how best do we do that? That's where I'm looking for support.
I like your idea of if somebody has a complaint, first of all, they gotta send an email, so it's documented, it's legit. I think that's a great first step.
I think most of the towns and villages around us are complaint-driven, aren't they? Right?
I don't
That's
know.
my understanding, is that they're complaint-driven. So,
Yeah.
as you said, there's not, if somebody complains about it, we react. So
Yeah.
we have to react.
I just don't want somebody to say, well, Dave doesn't like me, that's why he's after me.
Well, they're gonna say that anyway, Dave.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I'd rather say, well, here are these 10 emails that I got.
Right.
So, I'm trying to get some separation.
Yeah, I wonder if is one email enough, or should there be two different complaints from two different, and what would be the philosophy there, one way or the other? You know
I
what
think
mean?
that we
Versus
give,
the neighbor hates the other neighbor.
yeah, I think that we give an initial email request to address and give them a 60-day window.
Yeah.
And then at day 61, 65, whatever it may be, send out a second email saying this needs to be addressed, or we're going to have to step in.
Yeah, within 30 days.
I'm okay with
And-
leaving it to Dave's good judgment to decide whether it's, as you say, one neighbor hates another, or whether it's legitimate or not. And it would take one email to figure that out.
Yeah.
So,
And there are a number of them. I have someone on my block that car's been sitting there unregistered for about 3 years.
I gotta come.
We have another place here next to the Family Dollar. There's 3 vehicles that have sat there for how many years? 3 to 5. He has been notified. So I think one email is sufficient. Because what bothers me may not bother you also.
Right, exactly.
Yes.
But each of our zoning issues here says we can fine you $250. And if we can fine them $250 a day until they get it done, if we wish. And we can continue to fine them and with the understanding to be added to their tax bill if they're not paying us. But the point is that there has to be if we're gonna threaten them, we have to be, with this kind of stuff, we have to carry it through.
Yeah, I think that's email 2 or email 3.
Right?
Yeah,
Right.
not right away.
Right.
I agree.
Yeah, here's a warning, and you have this many, if you don't do it, then, stronger letter to follow.
And I like the idea too of, what was it, Willis's?
Will's.
Whatever, yeah.
Will's record.
Yeah, I mean, there's a certain amount of, after a certain amount of time, look, we can do this.
Yeah, we can help you,
Yeah, right.
and they'll come and they'll get it, and you'll get $500,
Can
whatever
we
it
get
is.
the houseboat that's on the end of Union Street, which is municipal water, but that's not one of the, sorry.
We should come
Throw
up
that
with,
away.
we should come up exactly what we're gonna do then for
Yes, that's what he'd like.
And that's what
So I like the idea of the 60 days, give it 60 days, and then the second email would say, now you have 30 days,
Yep.
or enforcement is going to commence, or maybe that's too, but if that's what you think, I think that's fine. But if you
That's
think
the way
that's too long, you're, too much time.
You have 45 days in here, right?
Oh, you have 45? I thought you said 60.
I'm not quite sure.
No,
Well, that's, yeah,
right.
I like 45 better.
I do
All
too.
right.
60, they won't do anything.
45 days.
60.
Let's say 45,
Yeah, sounds good.
smarter than I thought.
See, you were just too nice tonight. No, 45 days works.
I did have a conversation with Heinz Wall. He called me last week and telling, I'm working on getting all of this taken care of, the boats, the steel, and he has made great progress. It's still gonna take a couple of more years, but he is working on it. And I know that he wants to get that cleaned up so that he can do his park and have that look nice also. So he's
Yeah,
working.
question on the park. So
Yeah.
on the
Talk about
Kinney
that.
side of that street, is that still, you're saying behind Kinney's or?
No,
or
across the street
across the
from
street?
Kinney's.
So that's still zoned
Yes.
accordingly that he can do that?
Yes.
Okay.
And if you know, first, when it first came up, it was, no, you can't do that. But when you stop at the stop sign, going down, or whatever way on Strawberry Lane, what do you see right in front of you? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 large trailers. Not mobile home trailers, RV trailers. So yes, he can do it. Plus, he's produced the permits.
Oh,
for
yeah, I
the
thought you
department.
meant on the
Yeah, but
Kinney
that
side.
was-
No, nothing on the
That's
case.
a permit from the Department of Health. Okay, well, I'm not sure
think
why
the-
that pertains to the village has.
I think it's the
nothing.
Department of Health that issues
Yeah.
these permits.
But not the zoning.
But not
Right.
zoning.
Health is
It
not.
has nothing to do with our zoning.
Well, they were issued permits. long ago?
Usually, it's the request of us to, well, like if somebody's putting in a diner, the Department of Health comes in. and
I think it was
approves
Department of Health,
But-
maybe I'm wrong, but he has the permits, I think you have it in your office.
Right, but that's for the Department of Health.
So I could be incorrect about Department of Health.
So, I guess I wanted to go back here. So you're saying that in the college colony that we were discussing before, he is going to put RVs there now?
He's gonna put,
Park models.
park models. They are permanent on slab, permanent plumbed, permanent electric, tiny homes. They come in on a trailer. They are classified as an RV by manufacturer.
So I don't understand how we can permit that.
Across
Just
the
because the
street
Department of Health says okay, that doesn't mean.
but across the street is RVs.
Yeah, it's RV. He's already got an
He already
existing.
has
I-
existing RVs.
Yeah, but that's already something that's already.
He's already,
There.
Well, he has the
So he's
permits from
grandfathered.
somebody.
yeah, he's grandfathered in.
Right, so
And that's what-
but anything
And I
new-
think the discussion is there was Department of Health before the zoning took effect. Because when I went right to Jefferson County zoning and asked them about that. And this is the permits they produced.
Right, and that they considered that this would override our current zoning?
No, they didn't say anything to that effect.
But that's why I'm hesitant to think that the Department of Health has a permit for us.
Like I presented, it is a separate standalone application to his existing operations within the Marina District. And he is permitted within the Marina District for an RV park.
And this is in the Marina District.
Yep, this is in the Marina District.
So look into
Now, I mean, this is still preliminary.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, it's not, if it happens, it won't happen until next year.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
whatever. So we still have a fair amount of homework and evaluations to do.
Yeah, so this was, what year that Department of Health did that?
Well, they get one every year. When did it start? Back in the 60s.
Right,
Okay,
So I
before-
think what you're saying is that you're concerned that the only permit you have to have is this Department of Health. Is that what you're saying?
okay. Yeah, but it typically has nothing to do with
That, which is
zoning.
different than zoning. It is,
Yeah,
absolutely.
No, he's
Yeah.
requesting,
So why should we
Yeah.
just abide by the Department of Health that we want a RV park where
Well,
they're
because-
stating a
Because
college
you
town?
currently have one.
Because that's in a district that allows that, right?
Yep.
A zoning district where that's allowed. Right?
No.
Well, I think
RVs are
everyone
not
can do
allowed.
their own research and we'll
like I said,
continue
it's in-
on. but-
it's-
Yeah.
the language is vague, and so we're trying to figure out how to best approach this.
But they'd still have to apply for a zoning.
They still have to
Yeah.
apply and get approved for zoning.
Yeah, that's what I think he's saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Any other comments, questions?
Thank you for all the hard work.
Thank you, Dave.
Appreciate it, Dave.
Yes,
Okay.
Great to have a discussion with the zoning guy.
Not an argument? Any questions or comments on the police report? Alrighty. The consent agenda. Could I have a motion for, or is there any questions on that?
I just want to make one
Yep.
clarification to the minutes. Only because it's a permanent record, and I went back and looked at the videotape as well, but the last comment about the historian was that, and the pay was below minimum wage. But the conversation continued on that we are paying, I hate to end the conversation with something that's illegal, as Mike has pointed out. We can't end the conversation with, I don't think we should, that we're paying below minimum wage because we can't do that. But the conversation went on that the job, like, as Mike pointed out, the zoning board and the planning board pays a stipend, and this job pays a stipend. So if we want to increase the
So
stipend.
remove the pay below minimum wage and
Right, was
just leave it at
insufficient,
that.
exactly. That'd be
Please.
fine, yeah.
Yep.
So approval of the minutes with that
And
correction?
so we would say that the mayor noted the current pay was insufficient,
Okay,
all right?
yep, I'll take the rest out.
Other than
And
that,
I'll second Bob's amended approval of the minutes.
Who made the motion?
Well, you just made it,
Oh,
right?
McDowell.
yeah, that was it.
All in favor?
All right.
Aye.
Any opposed? Approval of the budget. What's next?
You mean, we're talking items 2 through, what do you want to approve?
1 through 4.
Oh, 1 through 4, yeah, okay, I'll make that motion.
I'll second that.
Wait,
We've already done it.
It would be 2 through 4.
He made the motion, he seconded, everybody said yay.
What?
For what?
we already did the consent.
It's all set.
Okay.
So now we're on the,
Got it.
adopt the
The
budget.
budget, yes.
If you guys are.
Okay. All right.
So we have to do a roll call for that, right?
Yes, we do. But we need to make, a trustee needs to make a motion.
All right, I'll make the motion.
I'll
Do you have a
second.
second? Alrighty.
And roll call vote by Nancy Hyde, Mayor,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McDowell,
Yes.
Trustee Kenny,
Yes.
Trustee Britta,
Yes.
and Trustee Dufel.
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen. I would also like to thank very much Amanda, Joanne, all of the department heads and the board for all the work everyone put into this year's budget. I think it went very well, and I appreciate all of the help everyone gave us. So we need a motion to acknowledge the March financial statement.
I'll make the motion.
In a second.
I'll second
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? And we need to make, we'd like a motion for the budget to transfer from this line item to the next line item for the new taser, which will come out of the current budget rather than the new budget.
I'll make that motion.
And a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Everyone saw Terry's pictures about the alleyway, how that got cleaned up.
Yeah.
I will get back in touch with some other owners in that area. One building in particular needs to move their trash cans down below because that's to be done April 1st. And so I will get in touch with them because they're still sitting down. Alrighty. I don't have anything to report. Does anyone on the board have a
I
report?
had a couple things.
Yes.
I want to just go back over what Jeff said earlier about you got a verbal, this is something to think about, not to act on, for the board, I think. You got a verbal quote from Fulmer offer for $42,000 to replace the beautiful bricks on the garage at the wastewater treatment plant. The back of that building, I think there's alternatives to just replacing those bricks, and I think we need to look at the alternatives. The back of that building is just pressurized concrete, or whatever it is, and that's the finish on it. I don't know that we need to have a beautiful finish to a garage when it's leaking. So I think before we say, let's go get a couple more bids because we want to replace those beautiful bricks, let's consider what other alternatives we have that would be way less expensive than doing that. Because what he's talking about is removing all those bricks and redoing them, those blocks.
The 42,000, yeah.
For 42,000. So I
No, that's I'm glad you brought it, I forgot it, but.
So please, if you get a chance, take a ride over there and you'll see what I'm talking about. It's the east side of the building, okay, that we're looking at. Jeff will show you.
And did they know why the bricks are deteriorating? Like,
It just, the roof leaked, it got down.
But that problem's been solved.
Yeah, that's been solved, but now they're still getting leaks because the bricks were never sealed. Okay, the second thing I want to mention is that the town, as you know, has a bunch of docks. They advertise in their downtown, they advertise on their website quite a bit of price structure for the use of those docks, and that's one thing. But one thing they also advertise is the pump out is free. And the pump out is actually not free because the pump out is paid for by everybody in the village who pays for water and sewer. That is not metered, but there is a pump that actually pumps it into the village system. And in my discussions with Jeff, he said there's enough hours accumulated annually on that pump that it would equal about 1 EDU. The town pays for EDUs on the shower, laundry, and building that they have down there next to the docks. And my recommendation is that we consider increasing that, whatever it is. I have to ask Amanda what it is. I didn't get a chance to do that today. What they're currently paying, and increase that by 1 EDU, because I don't know that, I may be wrong, but I don't believe we're sharing in whatever they're collecting for those docks for the big boats that come in and park there and take advantage of the free pump out.
Yeah, for a
which
big
is
boat, that's a
not
lot.
free.
Yeah, yeah.
As I said, the rest of the users are being, in the village are actually paying for that. So I would suggest that we take that up as a board and decide that we're going to charge them for that. The last thing I have is...
Excuse me, I don't have any issue with us doing that. We can talk about that at our joint meeting, which is in June, and have that prepared.
Yep. The lawn signs, as you probably have noticed, are popping up throughout the village. There's 2 here on Merrick, 4 out by the State Street and James Street corners. I would ask that our enforcement people, we have 3 policemen and Dave who are enforcement people, pick those up, call the folks, say come get your signs. We do have an ordinance that says you are not allowed to advertise your business on public property, and I think we just need to enforce that.
And then just put them outside of the Lions building or something? So
No, put them outside here and say come and get them.
outside this
I put them up at the DPW, not here.
Oh, whatever, wherever
Yeah.
we want, just grab them, ask
But
them.
I think that, I know you're not gonna like what I have to say, and that's okay, that's okay. Chances are the police will not do it. Dave probably won't do it, so I think that we just pick them up and bring them in and call. And I know what you're gonna say, this is their job, and if they don't do it, their enforcement. Talk to Kevin about it, chances are he's not gonna do it.
Can I ask
Yes,
a
go right
question
ahead.
on that? So are you saying that the signs are on village property? Or
Yes.
Yeah, they're in the village
Oh.
right away,
So what if they put them on their property?
That's fine,
that's
Okay.
fine.
that's fine, they put them on their property.
Yes. And the ones that he's referring to is the individual that I've seen him out right now. He lives in the Cape Vincent area, so he's advertising in Clayton for more business.
So, I guess, Mayor, what I'm not understanding is I'm not accustomed to having management be told by employees what they will and will not do.
I know you're not. And I have a hard time, which I know you don't agree with, and we have to agree to disagree, that when the chief has been here for 35 years and the DPW has been here for 30 years. Yes, there are times that no, they don't maybe do their job the way that we want them to do it. I'm just not one to upset the apple cart, because it's not worth it. So pick the sign up yourself and bring it here and have Dave call them. Why is that a problem?
Because we're the advice and counsel portion of this government, we're not the enforcers.
Well, I agree with that, and one of the things I've
And so if
noticed
we're
over the
confronted,
years.
we're confronted, I don't even have an ID that says I'm on the village board. The police have a uniform, and Dave has an ID that says he's the zoning guy.
Well, we'll get you all business
Well,
cards.
I don't know if that's the answer. I just think
I
that
know you want
if
them
you
to
are-
do it.
If you are paid, if you want, they are a paid advocate of this village. And if they don't wish to be an advocate, then don't accept the pay. I think it's a very simple
That's
thing to
fine.
understand.
I mean, I agree with Bob on this. I mean, first of all, we get a stipend, right? We're not paid by the hour, we're not paid anywhere near what we're worth, and that doesn't matter. But, it's an enforcement issue.
Well, one of the things I've noticed, not about this board per se, but the other boards I've been on, the boards come up with all the ideas, they come up with the suggestions, the ideas and whatnot, and then they tell everybody, this is what you need to do. And
Well, that's our job. We're a legislative board.
I know, but I think that we all should work as a team and as a group, so.
I agree. I mean,
So
I agree
there,
with
you know,
as a team.
therefore.
But I also think enforcement's important, otherwise, and why do we have to be the enforcers when we're not enforcers? I mean, I'm gonna say I'm not gonna do it, so there you go,
Oh,
I'm not
well,
gonna pick up
nobody here is
signs.
going to do it,
Yeah.
I know that. I'm
Yeah,
well
but-
aware it's been going on for
Yeah.
a bazillion years and it's never been done. But that's okay. Alrighty, we need to make a motion to go into executive session, please?
Wait, I didn't,
Oh, I'm sorry.
yeah, I just wanted
I'm
to
sorry.
remind everybody, May 3rd, which is this Saturday, it's gonna be a beautiful day, and we're doing our Spring Fest, 10 to 12, right down here, we're gonna plant the tree. There's gonna be seedlings giveaways for the kids. There's gonna be a seedling swap, so if, like me, sometimes I have a lot of peppers, but I don't have other things, I can bring my 10 peppers, and like I traded with these guys, a couple of lettuce for some spinach. That type of thing in the early stages where you can still transplant. There's also going to be all sorts of children's activities. Jefferson County Public Health is going to do a whole bunch of children's activities, including like a climate wheel, a fortune type thing, which is really neat. There's going to be goats, little baby goats hanging out. So Terry doesn't
Who's
have to
bringing
go.
the goats?
Hold on, I'll tell you right now. Hyde Farm maybe?
No,
I'll tell you in a second. I wrote it down.
the people over on Wellesley?
Cedar Hedge Farms. And there's going to be, Tilt's going to be doing some children's activities. Save the River is going to be, you can take a small battery, they're doing battery, whatever you want, not recycling, but they're taking the batteries and for people. And then also, there's a big one I'm forgetting. Nancy, do you remember what it is? There's like a big thing. The tree, I said the seedlings. Oh, there's also going to be children, book. If you have used books, the library's gonna have a table, you can toss them in there in the bin, and they get recycled, eaten basically. And then there's also gonna be a seedling swap, but also a clothing swap too. So if you're around, it's gonna be gorgeous from 10 to noon. It might rain later, don't know, but it's gonna be nice then, so come on, check it out.
Hopefully it will be.
And we have, like just 20 different vendors and things.
Wow.
Yeah, almost. Thanks.
I do want to make a correction. When Charlie Stage was here, he said June 12th. It's actually June 14th, which is a Saturday. But that won't be a problem. So we need a motion to go into executive session, please.
I'll make a motion.